really hard to look back on it now and go, what on earth happened?
Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well and that you had a great week. So all of my house guests, come in, make yourselves at home, make yourselves comfortable. If you're passing by and you'd like to become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I'm Chez, this is Chez M0i, welcome to my place. Sometimes the things we take for granted are really quite profound. As I was scrolling online this week, I learnt something new. It was not until 1975, 5 years after I was born, that a woman was not allowed to open a bank account in her own name in the UK. With a little bit more research, I discovered that before 1870, married women were legally considered to be subordinate to their husbands. A woman's property automatically became her husband's when she married, and that women could not sue in court or make a will. I started to think about how far we've come as women. In the 19th century, women campaigned for the right to vote. They weren't deterred by the challenges, opposition and ridicule they knew they would face because the women's rights movement was driven by a sense of injustice and the belief that women could continue to face oppression if they were denied the vote. As far as royal upsets go, the comparison is often drawn between Harry and his great-great-uncle Edward VIII. In my humble opinion, the two situations are only comparable in that both men stepped back from the institution. Edward abdicated the throne, Harry didn't. Harry tried to present mutually agreeable solutions, Edward didn't. Harry and Meghan are much more effective outside of the firm. Edward and Mrs. Simpson were less effective. Even though we know that making a major change will be better for our future selves, many of us stop ourselves mainly because of the fear of what other people will think. I'm sure you don't need reminding that it's been 5 years since Harry and Meghan permanently changed their location. It would appear, however, that other members of the royal family, not just in the UK, were able to make similar moves with nowhere near the same degree of attention. Autumn Kelly married Queen Elizabeth's eldest grandson, Peter Phillips, in the same venue as the Sussexes 10 years prior, almost exactly to the day. She retained her Canadian citizenship. The couple separated in 2019. Their divorce was finalised in 2021, and she made her new relationship public the following year. No fanfare, no drama, no scrutiny over where her children were, no paparazzi chasing her down the road, no question about where she lives. I understand that she resides in the UK to be close to her children. Earlier this week, the announcement was made that Princess Beatrice gave birth to her second daughter, born prematurely the week before. As you can see, baby Athena's face is covered. Did you hear any outcry about this baby's face being concealed? On the contrary, this move appears to have been applauded. This article is from theguardian.com, published on the 31st of January 2025, written by Rhiannon Lucy Coslet. I'm not going to read the entire article because the latter part is a promotion about her new book. The headline reads, Princess Beatrice has chosen to protect her new baby's privacy online. Good for her. Until recently, everyone's children were waving from the proverbial balcony on social media. You know the tide has turned when even the royals have stopped. Maybe I shouldn't admit this, but when I saw the photo of Princess Beatrice's new baby, I laughed. Hear me out though before you decide I'm a horrible person. I expect baby Athena, beautiful name, is perfectly lovely, and having arrived early as my son did, will have quite a lot of feeding and growing to be getting on with. I say I expect she is because we don't actually know what Athena looks like. In the photograph her parents released of her, her entire face is hidden by her own raised sleeve in a Garbo-esque plea of, I want to be alone. So yes, I did laugh, but I also thought, well, fair play. I'm not one of those members of the British public who feels entitled to information about the royals or photographs of their offspring. Athena is, as far as I'm concerned, entitled to her privacy, and good on her parents for trying to maintain that because, after all, she's too small to give her own consent. What I find humorous is just how much the image reveals of that modern negotiation that so many parents find themselves faced with when it comes to social media. Like anyone, Athena's parents are proud of their new baby and want to show her off, but they really don't want to show her face. More noteworthy still is that Beatrice is a mother who comes from a tradition where, shortly after giving birth, a woman is expected to put on a pastel dress, beige tights, and a full face of makeup, and present herself and her baby to the world's media while everyone pretends not to know that she is leaking milk and lochia, and was probably swearing and vomiting mere hours ago. It took an outsider, Meghan Markle, to take a stand against this insanity. And in the years since, she and Prince Harry have been judicious in how they have shared images of their children. He has been outspoken about the impact that being photographed in childhood has had on his subsequent mental health. You could argue that royal babies were the canaries in the coal mine on this. When social media took over the world, suddenly everyone had their children waving from the proverbial balcony, but prior to that, it was only really a very small group of kids who knew how it felt to be so surveilled, and to have one's image disseminated widely among adults who are strangers. So, you know the tide is turning on posting kids' photos on social media when even the monarchy isn't playing ball. In the time since I became a parent, people have become more and more vocal about social media as a children's rights issue, to the point where most of my friends don't put their children online at all anymore. As we look forward to the Invictus Games taking place in Whistler, Vancouver later in February, it's been reported that Prince Joachim and Princess M0i of Denmark will be in attendance, according to the Danish royal family's website. This is the same Prince Joachim and Princess M0i who moved to Washington DC in the summer of 2023 for the prince to start a new job at the Danish embassy under the Ministry of Defence. The couple made the transatlantic move 1 year after Prince Joachim's mother, Queen Margrethe, stripped his kids of the prince and princess titles they had inherited at birth in a shock step she later described as future-proofing the monarchy. If you remember this being reported as a global news story with excessively dramatic media commentary, please feel free to share that in the comments. Future-proofing the monarchy in the UK is going to be an uphill struggle if reports this week are anything to go by. But we know that William will do almost anything to try and remain as popular and as relevant as he possibly can, even if he appears really awkward in the process.
Alright, cool. So right here, we've got a strawberry and we're going to extract the DNA from it. Okay, so crushing the strawberry is going to release all of the cell contents and it's going to break the cell wall.
I'm Manny's beautiful assistant, by the way.
Okay, so now we're going to make the extraction solution. The salt is going to neutralize the DNA so that it can clump together. Next, we're going to add a little bit of washing up liquid. Now the dish soap is going to break down the lipids and proteins of the cell membrane. Now we're going to add the extraction solution to the strawberry. And then we just mix it up again. The next thing we're going to do is strain off the strawberry so that we can just get the pure juice. Okay, so we've got some rubbing alcohol here, also known as isopropanol. And this is going to cause the DNA to precipitate out of the solution. And right here, we have some strawberry DNA. Now, strawberries are octoploid, so they have more DNA than other fruits.
History is abundant with examples of how certain groups of people recognise that systems that once worked no longer work for an ever-evolving demographic who have simply had enough. Harry and Meghan tried to work within the institution, but the institution's inflexibility meant that Harry and Meghan had to write their own playbook, which other members are quietly following. Guys, if we are honest, many of us struggle with change. I'm sure you've had plans for your life. And in your head, you envisaged how those plans would unfold, and then something comes along and the rug is pulled from underneath you. Everything is chaos and you don't know what to do. People struggle with change because it's fear of the unknown. This is why you will have people stay in a toxic relationship, because that is what is familiar. In their minds, they don't deserve better, even though it is highly painful, but it is familiar. What seems to be more painful is the fact that something new is on the other side. Some people are not willing to try. This is why you will have millions of people stay in the same job, a job which they despise with a passion, but they will stay in that job because that is their only source of income. That source of income is what pays the bills month after month. It will affect their health physically, it will affect their health mentally, but they are not willing to change because that is what is familiar. People do not think that something is possible until it is done. Many of you may be familiar with Roger Bannister, who was famous for running a mile in under 4 minutes. Up until that was achieved, it was believed that that could never be done. When he attained that feat, there were people who came after him who managed to do that easily. We're told so many things in life. You can't do this, you can't do that. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? It may be some people in your family. You want to do something which kind of goes against the grain, and they will discourage you with good intentions and ask you, they will question your reason for doing things. Why are you doing that? Do you think that's a good idea? I wouldn't do that if I were you. Recognize that the reason they're doing it is because they don't want to be left behind. You're doing something so radical, something that has never been done before, and it scares people. I've said before, William has his life laid out. From the day he was born, his life path was already done. Very predictable. He's been told what to do his entire life, and that will not change if and when he becomes king. Harry had free rein to do what he wanted to do. And no one can convince me that there's not at least a little bit of resentment from William. Don't you think he wants freedom to live his own life? But he can't do that unless he abdicates like his great-great-uncle. But the fact that Harry and Meghan were bold enough to do what they did, even though they've been labelled as traitors, they have hatred for the royal family, none of which is true. They just did what no one else would do. And now that they've done it, other members are slowly trying to rewrite their rules because they're not happy. They're not happy in the royal family, whether it's in the UK or other parts of Europe. They're not happy. This is the 21st century. All these structures and systems that are so archaic, some of them need to be dismantled, and someone has to be brave enough to take that first step. Guys, if your thoughts were provoked in any way, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet become a house guest, don't forget to hit subscribe and activate all of your notifications. I want to take this opportunity to thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you shall catch me in the next video.